Right after the accident, your adrenaline's pumping, your bike's wrecked, and you're just trying to make sense of what the heck just happened. That is, if you're still even able to get up and talk about it. Maybe you're able to talk to the other driver. Maybe skip calling the police and you assume insurance will handle it. But one wrong move in those first few hours can destroy your claim and leave you stuck with bills. I'm Jason Marker, personal injury attorney here in Illinois with over 25 years experience, and I've seen how quickly people lose their rights just because of avoidable mistakes. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 things you should never do after a motorcycle accident so that you don't cost yourself the settlement and the recovery that you deserve. Let's get right into the first thing that you absolutely must not do after a motorcycle accident in Illinois. Do not leave the scene, even if the crash seems minor or you feel fine. This is a big one. You might feel embarrassed or want to just brush it off, especially if you think you only have some scrapes or minor bruises. Maybe the car that bumped into you is barely dented, or maybe you're just anxious to move your bike out of the way of traffic before anyone else gets hurt. I get it. The adrenaline is pumping and you just want to get on with your day. But here's the problem. Under Illinois law, leaving the scene of an accident without exchanging information or waiting for law enforcement is a crime. And it doesn't matter if you think the damage is tiny or nobody looks injured. Illinois requires that you stay put, share your contact and insurance details with the other driver, and call the police if anyone is hurt or the property damage looks like it could be anything over $1,500 or more, which nowadays is pretty much any minor fender bender. Especially when the other driver is at fault, you're leaving them off the hook if you don't call the police. You're not going to realize how minimal or bad it is in the moment, even if you feel okay. Failing to do this could turn a bad day into a nightmare for you later, with potential criminal charges, a suspended license, or even some jail time, believe it or not. But most importantly, leaving the scene can destroy your chances of a personal injury claim. Insurance companies will pounce on this as a reason to deny your claim, saying you were responsible, or you were trying to hide something, or you weren't hurt as bad. Could even get raised in court if the case goes that far. Let me give you a real example. A client of mine, we'll call Ben, was rear-ended while stopped at a light in Aurora, Illinois, while he was on his motorcycle. He felt okay, so he just exchanged numbers with the other driver and took off because he thought he was going to be late for work. Turns out by that afternoon, his neck was so bad that he could barely look over his shoulder. But when he filed the claim, the insurance company jumped at the fact that Ben hadn't stuck around and made an official police report. They tried to say that maybe the injury happened at work instead. We were able to help Ben, but it was a lot harder than it needed to be if he just were to have stayed and documented the accident. So remember, no matter how bad or minor it seems, no matter how rushed you feel, always stay at the scene until law enforcement says that you can leave. Your future self will thank you for it. Now, the second thing you must not do is skip calling 911 after your motorcycle accident. Some people worry about causing a scene, or they think they can just work it out with the other driver. Maybe you think, I'll just swap insurance information and be on my way. That's a mistake that you don't want to make in Illinois. Why? Because the police report is your best evidence if you have to make an injury claim later. That document is an official, unbiased account of exactly what happened, who was involved, the weather conditions, any witness statements, and all other facts. Whether it's because of your word later or the other driver's, this will always be in your favor. When you call 911, trained professionals come out to make sure everything is okay. They check for your injuries. They make sure things that you miss might be noticed at the scene. If you need medical care, they'll get you to a hospital quickly, and the medical record is another crucial piece of evidence for your case. Illinois law actually requires you to report certain accidents to the police, especially if it's an accident of significant property damage. Even if it's a single vehicle accident, let's say you hit a patch of gravel and you lay your bike down in the street, you'll want to officially report this because it wasn't your fault, so that you can later prove the circumstances for insurance. One of my former clients, Dan, was sideswiped by a distracted driver in suburban Chicago. The other driver begged him not to involve the police, saying it would ruin his insurance rates. Dan almost agreed because he's a kind person. But he called 911 anyway, and thank goodness he did. The other driver changed her story a week later, but the official police report made all the difference for Dan's case. His settlement ended up recovering everything for his medical bills and replacement value for his bike. So don't skip calling 911. That one phone call could save you months, even years of frustration. This is the one most people even don't realize is a problem until it's too late. After a crash, you might instinctively say, I'm sorry, even if you had nothing to do with what happened. Or you're just trying to be polite and calm things down. But under Illinois law, anything you say at the scene can and could be used against you by the other side's insurance company or their lawyer later to blame that you are at fault for the accident. Insurance adjusters are trained to look for the smallest apologies or admissions, so that they can argue that you were the one at fault. And Illinois follows what's called a comparative negligence rule. That means that if they can show that you were even a little bit at fault or to blame, your settlement can be cut down by your percentage of fault. If you're found to be more than 50% at fault, then you get nothing. I once worked with a rider named Javier who laid his bike down to avoid a car that ran a stop sign. When the driver got out, Javier, being a nice guy, said, "I'm sorry I didn't see you coming. Big mistake." The other driver's insurance took that single line and tried to argue that Javier was admitting that he wasn't paying attention. We were able to fight for him, but it made things way harder. Here's what you do instead. Stick to the facts. I was traveling west on Main Street. The other vehicle entered the intersection. I had the green light going through the intersection. The other driver had a red light and went through the intersection and hit me. Those kinds of things. Don't guess or speculate about what happened, and definitely don't apologize, even if you're trying to be nice. Let the professionals, the police, your insurance company, and later your lawyer, sort out who's responsible. It's not about being rude, it's about protecting yourself. After a crash, your natural instinct may be to take the blame or downplay things, but you have to resist that urge. Focus on getting help, exchanging information, explaining the facts of what actually happened, and letting the authorities do their job from there. The fourth thing you must not do after a motorcycle accident is refuse medical attention. This is a huge one, and it trips a lot of riders up. You might hop up right after an incident, think you're fine, or decide you don't want to deal with an ambulance or a hospital. Maybe you think, I'll just walk it off, or I can't afford the hospital bill. I've seen this happen so many times in my cases in my office. Maybe because riders feel like they're tough and they don't want to complain. I'm not sure. But here's the reality. Some injuries, especially head, back, or internal injuries, don't show up right away. You could have a concussion, a soft tissue damage, or internal bleeding injury and not even realize it until hours or days later. Getting checked out right away is not only important for your health, but it's vital for your legal claim. If there's no record that you got hurt at the accident, the insurance companies will jump at that. They'll jump at it as a way to deny your claim and argue that someone else caused your injuries. One case that sticks with me is a man I represented named Tony. He was in a low-speed crash outside of Peoria, Illinois, and he felt like he had just had a sore wrist. He declined the EMT's offer to take him to the emergency room. By that night, his wrist was so swollen that he could barely move it, and it turned out it was fractured. The insurance company tried to say that he must not have injured it there, but instead at his home later, since he didn't report the accident at the scene or seek immediate medical attention. Yes, we were able to help Tony, but his case was way more difficult than it needed to be. So after any motorcycle accident, big or small, get checked by a medical professional. Go to the ER, an urgent care, or your regular doctor as soon as possible, even if you feel you're okay. Getting examined right away creates documentation of your injury and not only makes you look like you're taking care of your health, but it's a link between your injury and the accident, which makes your case much stronger. The last thing you absolutely must not do after a motorcycle accident in Illinois is post anything on social media. Maybe your family's worried and you want to let them know you're okay, or you just want to vent about the other driver who hit you. But trust me, this is all a trap. Insurance companies and defense lawyers are constantly looking at your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you use. If you post, "I'm feeling fine, just a little rattled after my crash," or share photos of your wrecked bike and you just say, "I just walked away from this without a scratch," they'll use it all against you. Even innocent photos at a family barbecue or a night out can be twisted to suggest you're not as hurt as you claim, even if you were just trying to have a normal day. Additionally, if you did have some injuries after your accident, don't be posting things that you're doing at home or for fun that make you look less injured. As a general rule, I tell my clients, think of it this way. If the insurance company representatives are looking on your posts online and they find a picture of you, would they think that this makes it look like you're more injured or not? Get it? A woman I once represented named Denise posted a selfie from her hospital bed with a thumbs up just hours after a collision. She meant it to reassure her family, to show them that she would be okay. But the insurance company found that and later tried to argue this meant she wasn't seriously hurt. We had to work extra hard to show the real impact of her injuries. So here's my advice. Keep off of the internet. Don't post about your accident, your injuries, or your recovery, or anything related to your case while it's pending. Also, don't accept new friend requests from people you don't know. They might be investigators. Even if your account is private, don't risk it. If someone asks, just tell them your lawyer advised you stay quiet until everything is done. So let's recap what we've covered today. You now know the 5 things that you must not do after a motorcycle accident in Illinois. Number 1, don't leave the scene even if you think it's minor. Number 2, don't skip calling 911. 3, don't admit guilt or apologize at the scene. 4, don't refuse medical attention, even if you think you're fine. And 5, don't post about your accident on social media. Avoiding these mistakes will put you in the strongest possible position to protect your rights, your health, and your finances after a motorcycle accident. But here's the thing, mistakes are only half the battle, unfortunately. If you want to maximize what you get from your claim, you also need to know how to play smart with the insurance company. For that, you should absolutely check out my next video, 5 secrets to double your car accident injury settlement. I'll share insider tips on how I get my clients the best money on the table. So click over there now. Your future self will thank you for it. We'll see you over there.